Hi, this is Usha. Welcome to Rathod's IAS classes. Today in this lecture, we are going to discuss current events of 10th January 2022. In this lecture, we are going to discuss 6 topics which are very much relevant from our UPSC point of view. So now let us have an overview regarding the topics. Now we are going to have our discussion. At last, we are going to discuss 3 practice questions from our geography. So yesterday I asked you whether I have to start with polity questions or geography questions, and many students commented regarding this geography. Okay, so because of this I am going to come up with this questions of 3 practice questions of geography, because I am also geography faculty, right? So I am also interested with this geography than polity, and after once geography is completed we will move on to polity. Don't worry about that. So now let us try to see the topics. So first one is a bill that could alter mediation landscape. So this is talking about mediation bill. So already you know that this mediation, it is one of the area, that is alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So recently government came up with this mediation bill. We are going to see what are the provisions and what are the concerns regarding that bill. So this will be important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic, it is about unchanged. So this article which is mainly talking about this economically weaker sections quota of 10% regarding this NEET counseling. So that will be very important from our polity, which mainly comes under again GS paper 2. And next topic, it is regarding control rather than privacy. So actually this article mainly talking about data protection bill and some concerns regarding that. So those concerns which are mainly highlighted by standing committee. So this will be important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic, it is about center yet to notify rules of the Citizenship Amendment Act. So this is very important from our polity again, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. And next topic, it is about Veer Bal Diwars to be observed on December 26. So this article mainly talking about is Veer Bal Divas. So we need to know some important facts which are related from our history point of view. So this article will be important from our history, which mainly comes under GS paper 1. And next topic, it is about Vikrant heads out for next set of sea trails. So this article mainly talking about INS Vikrant. We are going to see that. Okay, so these are the list of the topics now we are going to discuss in this lecture. So first topic, it is about a bill that could alter the mediation landscape. So here this article especially talking about this mediation bill. So first we are going to see what is the context, and we are going to see some key provisions of the bill, and we are going to look into what are the concerns. So in this way, so we will be having a detailed idea regarding what is this mediation bill talking about. So if you see context, it mainly says that government recently released this draft mediation bill 2021, especially for promotion as well as strengthening of alternate dispute resolution mechanism in India. So already you know that this mediation is one of the alternate dispute resolution mechanism. So if you have any dispute, for example, if you have any dispute between two persons or two families, then what happens? These people, they will go and they will file a case in police station, and finally they will go for a court mainly to resolve those dispute. Okay, according to law, so they will go for dispute that should be resolved. But what happened? So already you know that these courts have been burdened with increase in the number of cases. So because of this alternate dispute resolution mechanism, it is very high in use. So when we are going for this alternate dispute resolution mechanism, that will mainly decrease the burden on the courts. So one of this alternate dispute mechanism is mediation. So now let us try to understand what is exact meaning of mediation. So mediation is nothing but if there are two parties, between those two parties there is a dispute that is going on. So mainly to resolve this dispute, there will be the impartial third party will be appointed, and he mainly look into this issue, and finally this dispute will be resolved. So this process of entering of this impartial third party, so this process of alternate dispute resolution mechanism is called as mediation. Okay, and it is also alternative for litigation in the courts as well. So if you're talking about India, it is especially signatory for this Singapore Convention on Mediation. Okay, so because of this we can go for this mediation. It is not at all something which is alternate. Okay, so India is already signatory to this Singapore Convention on Mediation. So this Singapore Convention, which mainly ensures disputants and their mediation settlements will be enforced without much difficulty across the world as well. And now let us try to talk about some key features of this bill. So first one is this draft bill, which mainly aims to enforce domestic and as well as international mediation. It is mainly enforcing domestic and as well as international mediation settlement agreements, and it also provides for a body for registration. It also provides for registration of mediators, and it will also encourages community mediation and make online mediation an acceptable and as well as a very cost effective process. Okay, so this draft bill, which mainly aims to enforce domestic and international mediation agreement. Apart from that, it is also providing for a body for registration of mediators, encouraging of community mediation, and they want to go for making online mediation that is acceptable and is also cost effective manner. And this draft bill also proposes for pre-litigation mediation. Okay, and it also come up with some time safeguards the interest of the litigants to approach the competent adjudicatory forums or courts in the case of any urgent relief. So in the case of any urgent relief, they can go for pre-litigation mediation as well. And the successful outcome of this mediation in the form of mediation settlement agreement is also can be enforceable by law. So after they came up with the mediation, okay, so they will came up with some settlement. So they can also come up with this settlement agreement, and this settlement agreement can also be enforceable by law. And apart from that, the mediation process, which also protects even confidentiality of mediation undertaken, and even this also provides immunity in certain cases as well. And next one is the regulation of mediation settlement agreement has also been provided with state or district or a taluk legal authorities, that is within 90 days. And will be also provides for establishment of mediation council in India. And next one is it is also focusing on community mediation as well. So these are some key provisions. So what is the significance, that is what is the importance? Already you know that this bill mainly recognizes that mediations need to be treated as a profession. So this bill it is mainly saying that mediation can be treated as a profession over the part-time honorarium basis. Okay, it can be done by part-time basis. And this bill also acknowledges the importance of institutes to train even mediators and service providers to provide structured mediation. It is also providing some training as well. It's also focusing on training of these mediators. And next one is if any urgent interim order is needed, then there is also possibility of bypass mediation at the first stage as well. And next one is this bill does away with confusion arising in the terms of mediation as well as conciliation as well. And it also recognizes online dispute resolution mechanism, and it also provides for enforcement of commercial settlements. Okay, enforcement of commercial settlements who mainly reached in this international mediation etc. here, right? And if you're talking about what are the concerns, okay, what are the concerns regarding this mediation bill? So first one is the status of domestic mediation. Okay, so this bill which mainly treats unwisely treating this domestic and as well as international mediation. So this is one cause of concern. Okay, because it will be having some disastrous effect when one party is foreign, because in Singapore Convention do not apply settlements which have already the status of judgment or decree. So for example, if already some judgments which are mainly going in courts, so that will be not considered as this as mediation in this Singapore Convention, but it is one of the disasters that we can see here. And next one is the council. So the council, which mainly includes retired senior judge and a person with experience of this ADR law and an academic who mainly has a thought that ADR does not have a single mediator. So actually you know that, okay, actually you know that this council has 3 members, including one will be the retired senior judge and a person with experience of this adverse dispute resolution law, and also academician. So these will be the members. Okay, but if you see here, it doesn't have a single mediator. So this council will have 3 members. Since they are full-time members, it is clear that none of them will be active practitioners. Okay, so they will be the full-time members, so they should not be the active practitioners now. And next one is, this is the field of dispute resolution mechanism, where is a judicial domain, but it is mainly left this CJI for the picture making appointments. So regarding the appointment, CJI gave the permission or the power to go for appointments. So this is one cause of concern. And next one is dispute not to be mediated. So there is a long list of disputes such as fraud which should not be mediated. So in case of involving minors and persons of unsound mind, and the law which mainly providing for the court to pass orders and to protect them. So in the case of telecom, there is no provision of manufacturers and service providers, consumers to talk and resolve the issues. So these are not mediated, especially regarding the minors, people with unsound mind, and as well as telecom. So these are some important things which are mainly not covered here. So these are some important concerns. And now let us try to talk about next topic regarding unchanged. So this article mainly talking about this EWS quota, that is economically weaker section societies quota. Okay, yesterday Supreme Court said that yes, you can go forward with this counseling of this NEET this year based on this EWS quota, which is mainly declared by government, right? So now let us try to see this article in a very great detail. So if you see this article, which is mainly talking about this economically weaker sections quota. So if you see here, actually you know that Supreme Court allowed for the commencement of counseling of NEET undergraduation as well as post-graduation medical admissions based on the notification which is released by government. So under this All India quota, 27% of reservation for this OBC category, other backward caste, and 10% of reservation for this economically weaker sections of society, right? So here the controversial criteria of this 10% of reservation for this economically weaker sections remain unchanged for this admission. So for this year admission 2021 to 2022, so this controversial criteria of 10% which had not been changed, right? So as early as October 25th, Union government mainly offered to put on hold on this admission process because of pendency of challenge regarding this 27% of reservation for this OBC category and 10% of reservation for this EWS category. And after a month, it mainly informed that court that it wanted to revisit this criteria. So now court wanted to revisit this criteria of this EWS, and it's mainly said that based on the response which is given by the central government and even the committee recommendations, so they said that yes, it is good, we can go for this 8 lakh rupees as a cap of income criteria to find this who are this EWS, right? And this committee also considered that criteria is well and good, it is good, okay? And finally we say that we know that here the final judgment or final dealing regarding this case that will be done in this March of this year. So after that we will be getting many insights regarding this topic. We are going to discuss that after once the judgment of Supreme Court which is mainly given. And now let us try to see next topic. It is regarding control rather than privacy. So this article which is mainly talking about personal data protection bill, and this article will be important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 2. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you're talking about this, okay, regarding this personal data bill, so in India we are coming up with a personal data bill. Actually it is not at all passed in our parliament, but here because of this personal data of citizens, they are at a mercy of companies and as well as government, where there is no privacy law. So in India we do not have a proper privacy law or data protection law. So because of this, here people, they are mainly giving their data, especially if they are using any digital payment apps or if they are using mobile phones, that smartphones, they are asking for the data, right? So because of this, the personal data of citizens, they are at a mercy of companies and as well as government, where we do not have a proper privacy law or data protection law here. So if you are talking about this case Puttaswamy judgment, it mainly said that here privacy is a fundamental right which mainly comes under this Article 21 of Indian Constitution. And even Justice B.N.C. Krishna committee report which mainly said that we need this personal data protection bill in India. Okay, and if you see recently joint committee report on this bill which mainly failed to provide some robust draft legislation which is ensuring this privacy of citizens. So if you're talking about this privacy, so already you know that under our constitution and even fundamental rights, they are enforced against the state and its instrumentalities and not against its private body. So regarding this data protection law and as well as some fundamental rights like right to privacy, which is mainly enforced against the state, right, and as well as it is not against its private body. So this is one important thing that you need to remember. So whenever your fundamental rights which are mainly violated by the state, then you can go and you can file a case under this writs. But here it is not against its private bodies. And in this context, if you see about this case Puttaswamy judgment, which mainly said that right to privacy is a fundamental right, which mainly comes under integral part of Article 21 of our Indian Constitution. So however, if you see the report which has divided this digital world into two domains, for example, we have government and as well as we have private. Okay, so if you are having a perception like, for example, a question regarding this right to privacy which emerges only where operations and activities of these private entities are concerned. Okay, so the question of privacy which mainly emerges where means here, especially when we are giving our data for the private entities and for the operations of these private entities, then the right of privacy which mainly emerges here. So if you're talking about this draft bill, so in this draft bill, clause 12 of this bill which mainly provides exemption for this government and as well as government agencies, and other clause, that is clause 35, which mainly exempts government agencies from entire act itself. So here the government which is mainly excluded under this clause 12 and as well as clause 35 of this bill. And apart from that, even this clause 12 which mainly says that personal data can be processed without the consent for the performance of any function of the state, and is an umbrella clause that do not specify which ministries or which departments will be covered. Okay, so here this clause which mainly says that whenever the government which want to go for processing of data, they can go for processing without taking any consent from the people here. So it will not give any information like which ministry it is using and as well as which departments are covered under this. So for example, if you take to understand this clause 12, for example, if you are having a mobile phone, in your mobile phone you are mainly installing so and so software or so and so app here. Okay, whenever this software which is mainly violating the principles of privacy, and whenever your data which is mainly taken by that so and so software, and that software data get leaked here, means the complaint of the data principle will not be legally tenable. Okay, so the complaint of this data principle cannot be legally tenable as defense will be that once you have installed so and so that software, you should have reasonably expected the level of surveillance. Okay, so if you are downloading any app or any software, means you will be having some expectations, right? So here already before that installing of that software, it will say that whether you will be agree or not regarding the access. So if you are giving access here, even though if any software company in your computer or in your mobile phone which mainly violates your principle of privacy here, and the data is getting leaked, means the complaint regarding this data principle will not be legally tenable. Okay, and if you see some more important questions which are mainly highlighted here is, if private party can be given a transition time to comply with this act, why should the same cannot be extended to these government entities? So why this government is excluded under this clause 35 as well as clause 12 of this draft bill? Why should be there is a blanket exemption that is given for this government instead of giving any time framework? So this is the two important questions that you need to think about. And next one is, committee also had failed to provide some firewalls to protect the privacy of individuals and also carved out of the mechanism of government control over personal data. Okay, so committee also failed to provide some formidable firewalls as well. Okay, and there is also provisions or ultra wires, and as well as it is against the judgment of this privacy judgment of K.S. Puttaswamy. Okay, so if you are talking about some more details, so this bill also elaborates regarding the functions and duties of this data protection authority, and this bill says that we need to appoint this data protection authority, right? But one important cause of concern here is the terms and conditions of this appointment of this data protection authority also providing some cause of concerns. And if you see some more important concerns, that is clause 86 of this draft bill, which mainly says that authority should be bound by directions of the central government under all cases and not just on questions of policy. Okay, authority should be bounded by directions of the central government, and here it mainly says that it should follow this direction of central government Okay, so because of this, so whatever the duty that is mainly bounded by this authority, which mainly comes under the government influence. So whatever the independence they are going to get, that independence mainly compromised here, and there is high level of government excessive control that can be seen. So these are some cause of concerns. So apart from this, even though in this bill we can have some economic and as well as non-personal data concerns. So one of the objectives of this data protection bill, it is to promote digital economy here, right? So but by including this non-personal data within the ambit of this bill, so this joint committee has put a huge compliance burden on economy. So that will lead to huge burden on our economy, because it will mainly hit our micro, small and medium enterprises, that is MSME enterprises, and even small business. They will be having a very expensive data processing cost here. And if you see, whenever we are talking about mandatory data localization, so it will mainly leads to 0.7 to 1.7% of skis of our economy. So data localization means, for example, so here we have different companies like Facebook or Meta or Amazon, etc. They are generating the data of Indians, means they need to store the data in India itself, not in other countries, because if there is any issue, means they should come under the guidelines or the law of so and so country. Okay, so whenever we are focusing on this data localization, it mainly estimated that it mainly squeezes economy by 0.7 to 1.7%. So this is gist of this topic. And now let us try to see next topic. Title says Center yet to notify rules of Citizenship Amendment Act. So this article mainly talking about this CAA, Citizenship Amendment Act. So this article will be important from our polity point of view, which mainly comes under our GS paper 2. So now let us try to see some important details regarding this topic. So if you see context, it mainly says that our Ministry of Home Affairs did not notify the Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019 rules. Okay, till now CAA 2019 rules had not been notified, and the third extended deadline also has been passed, that is January 9th. So January 9th was the last day of extension. It sought from these two parliamentary committees in Lok Sabha and as well as Rajya Sabha to frame the rules, but this also had been crossed. But till now, Ministry of Home Affairs did not come up with these rules. So if you see some details, it mainly says that it was immediately clear that if the ministry had sought more time from the committees on subordinate legislation in the two houses, Parliament need to notify the rules that will govern this the Citizenship Amendment Act, but till now the rules are not released by this Ministry of Home Affairs. So this is the one important thing which mainly said. And now let us try to see some facts regarding this Constitutional Amendment Act. So this Citizenship Amendment Act, not Constitutional Amendment Act. So this Citizenship Amendment Act of 2019, so it is mainly focusing to grant Indian citizenship. So for whom? For some persecuted minorities. For example, Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Parsis and Christians from Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, they are mainly not given the citizenship for this Muslims. So this is one cause of concern, right? And next one is those from these communities who had come to India till December 31st, 2014 and who they are facing some religious persecutions in their respective countries, and they will be not treated as illegal migrants, but we are going to give this Indian citizenship for those minorities. And this act will also provide that legal government, so this act will also provide the central government that can also cancel registration of this over cards of OCIs on certain grounds. Okay, so here OCI cards will also can be cancelled by the government according to this CAA. So first one here is they are going to provide citizenship especially for some persecuted minorities. They are Sikhs, they are Hindus, Sikhs, Jains, Buddhists, Parsis and as well as Christians who are coming from this Pakistan, Bangladesh and Afghanistan, who already came to India by this December 31st, 2014, and they are having some evidence regarding religious persecution in their home countries. They will be getting Indian citizenship. So if you are talking about exceptions, so this act does not apply to tribal areas of Tripura, Mizoram, Assam, Meghalaya, because these AMMT areas, that is Assam, Mizoram, Meghalaya, Tripura areas, which mainly comes under 6th schedule of our Indian Constitution. and these areas that fall under this inner limit notified under this Bengal Eastern Frontier Regulation 1873, they will be also outside this act here. So these are some important facts that you need to remember, and this is very much important topic. And next topic, it is about Veer Bal Divas to be observed on December 26th. So this article mainly talking about this Veer Bal Divas. So this article is important from our history point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 1. So now let us try to see this topic in a very great detail. So if you see context, it mainly says that our Prime Minister, he declared that December 26th. So December 26th shall henceforth be marked as this Veer Bal Divas to pay homage to courage of the Sahibzades who are 4 sons of this Guru Gobind Singh. Okay, so he was the last Sikh Guru. So you know that Guru Gobind Singh, he was last Sikh Guru and he had 4 sons. Okay, so based on to pay some homage for these courageous Sahibzades, so here we are going to celebrate this December 26th as this Veer Bal Divas. So if you are talking about who are these Sahibzades, so this Sahibzades, they were the 4 sons of Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and they mainly sacrificed their life in an important battle against Mughals. Okay, in the battle against Mughals, they mainly sacrificed their lives. And the names include Sahiba Ajit Singh, Sahibzada Zuhair Singh, Zorawar Singh, and as well as Fateh Singh. So these are the 4 sons of this Guru Gobind Singh. And this Sahibzades, they were initiated into Khalsa. Okay, Khalsa is nothing but an elite warrior group created by this Guru Gobind Singh in year 1699, and they want to protect the innocent religious persecutions. Okay, and at age of 19 and as well as before age of 19, they participated in this war against the Mughals here. So if we are talking about this Guru Gobind Singh Jayanti also, so here this Guru Gobind Singh born at this Gobind Rai at Patna, okay, in Bihar in 1699. Okay, so Guru Gobind Singh born in this Gobind Rai at this Patna Sahib in Bihar, and he was the 10th and the last Sikh Guru in human form, and he became this 10th Guru at the age of 9 years. At the age of 9 years, he became this Sikh Guru, and following his martyrdom of his father, the 9th Guru, that is Guru Tej Bahadur Ji. So Prakash Parv, or the birth anniversary of this Guru Gobind Singh, was celebrated, that is January 9th, as this Guru Gobind Singh Jayanti, right? And now let us try to see next topic. So this topic, it is about Vikrant heads out for next set of sea trails. So this article mainly talking about this INS Vikrant. We need to know some facts regarding this INS Vikrant. So this topic, it is important from our defense point of view, which mainly comes under GS paper 3. And if you see context, it mainly says that indigenous aircraft carrier, that is Vikrant, headed out for the next set of sea trails. Okay, so this aircraft carrier, that is Vikrant, which mainly going to have some next set of sea trails here. And because of this is in news. And if you see some details, so in this sea trails in August 2021 recently that held, so in this sea trails they mainly went for to know about some details regarding propulsion, navigation suit, and as well as some basic operations, right? And if you're talking about some important facts regarding this INS Vikrant, so this vessel, which mainly named Vikrant after the decommission of our maiden carrier of the Navy, and it will have the air component. Okay, and it also comprises of a MiG-29K fighter jets, and also contains Kamau-21 airborne early warning helicopters also, and also expected to have top speed of about 30 knots. Okay, and this also having some weapons include Barak long range missile, and as well as AK-630, RAN 400, 3DL radar sensors, etc. here. So these are some important facts regarding this Vikrant you can remember, and this will be your potential prelims question. So now let us try to see our practice questions. Today I came up with 3 questions regarding this geography. So before seeing these questions, I want to make a small announcement. So if you want to clear UPSC, I will strongly suggest you to join courses of Rathod's IAS, that is Prelims Test Series and as well as Mains Answer Writing course. So in this Prelims Test Series, we are providing 30 tests, which includes both CSAT and as well as GS. So in GS we have sectional test, we have full length test, and we have revision test. And in this mains answer writing course, we are providing especially some important focus on our static syllabus GS1, GS2, GS3 and GS4, because answer writing is very important and you have to excel this answer writing to see your name in final list. And because within 3 hours of time you have to write at least 20 answers, right? So you will be getting average 7 to 7.5 minutes for one question. So to write this to attempt all these questions, you need to have some extreme speed and extreme confidence on your content. So that content confidence that you can get by this mains answer writing course. So this is a 1-year course and we are focusing on your GS1, GS2, GS3, GS4 along with case studies and as well as essays. So in this way, this course is absolutely beneficial. We provide you proper evaluation. We also provide you model answer and as well as one-to-one mentorship along with micro listing of topics. So you can join this course. It will be exclusively important and the registration will be closed by today evening. Okay, that is January batch registration will be closed by today evening. So if you want to join, please be hurry up. And apart from this, we also launched entire foundation course for GS. So we are providing more than 700 hours of complete GS recorded lectures, and we are focusing on conceptual clarity and as well as we are focusing on quality of education. There is no compromising on this quality of education, and you can join that courses that will be give you 100% concept clarity. And apart from that, if you want to take some individual courses of history, geography, economy, you can take those courses. That will be very beneficial, and the details of this course are given in description box, so please visit once. And if you want to watch demo videos, you can also watch demo videos. Okay, and if you want to talk to me regarding these courses, you can call to this number 8074765513. I am the academic director of this Rathod IAS Academy. Okay, and if you see the prelims practice questions, the first question is regarding Himalayas. So with regard to Western Himalayas and Eastern Himalayas, consider the following statements. So first one is the ranges of Eastern Himalayas are more continuous compared to that of Western Himalayas. So already you know that Himalayas are located in our northern part, and these Himalayas which are present here is Eastern Himalayas, and here we have Western Himalayas. So first statement is saying that so Eastern Himalayas are more continuous compared to that of Western Himalayas. This is the first statement. Second one is Western Himalayas, they receive most of the precipitation in winter months, and Eastern Himalayas they are receiving in summer months. That means here in this area we will be getting summer rainfall, here we are getting winter rainfall. Second one is Eastern Himalayas, they are much greener and dense compared to that of Western Himalayas. So choose the correct answer using the codes given below. First one is 1 and 2, second one is 2 and 3, third one is 1 and 3, and fourth one is all the above. So please try to answer this question and let me know the answer in comment box. So explanation for these questions will be given in tomorrow's lecture. And second question is consider the following statements. So the peninsular plateau is composed mainly of igneous and metamorphic rocks. So this question is regarding rocks. And next one is Garo, Khasi, Jaintia hills. They are part of peninsular block. Actually, this Garo, Khasi, Jaintia hills are located in Meghalaya. Okay, you have to know whether they will be coming under the part of peninsula or not. And next one is the peninsular plateau is the oldest and most stable land mass in India, devoid of earthquakes or volcanic activity. So to understand this, you need to know about plate tectonics, okay, and plate movements. Okay, plate movements are very much relevant regarding this earthquakes and as well as volcanic activity. So this question is a combination of 3 to 4 topics. Here we have rocks, and here we have different types of landforms like mountains, plateaus like that. You need to talk about this plateau of this Meghalaya here, and here it is talking about earthquakes and volcanic activity. So this will comes under our plate tectonics. So this question is mainly combination of 3 subtopics. So here you have to choose the correct answer, that is 1 and 2 only, 2 and 3 only, 1 and 3 only, and all the above. So you have to find out the correct option. And next question is regarding peninsular rivers, and we are comparing this peninsular river with this Himalayan rivers. So Indian peninsular rivers are relatively having steep gradients. So if you are talking about our peninsular India especially, it will be like this shape. Okay, so because of this, mainly rivers will be flowing towards eastwards and finally draining into this Bay of Bengal. So this is one concept that you need to know regarding this first statement. And next one is there is very little variation in the flow from the dry to wet season. Okay, so this is also one important point that you need to know. And as well as most of the rivers do not form deltas. So what are the reasons why these peninsular rivers, they are not flooded as compared to that of Himalayan rivers? So finally you need to select this, choose the correct answer. So first one here is 1 and 2 only, second option is 2 and 3 only, and third option is 1 and 3 only, and fourth one is 1 only. So please try to answer these questions and give your answers in the comment box. Don't forget about this. And in tomorrow's lecture, at last, we are going to have our explanation part. And explanation part, it is very detailed. Don't worry about explanation part. So by this, I am concluding today. I hope you enjoyed this lecture. Please subscribe to Rathod's IAS Academy, and don't forget to like, share and comment my videos, and don't forget to enroll to these courses that are given in description box. And if you want to watch demo videos, please try to watch those demo videos in our Rathod's IAS Academy website. And if you want to download app, link of this app is also given in description box. So by this I am concluding. Thank you so much.